guys, welcome back. So today's video is going to be all about how my husband and I sleep trained both of our kids before they were one. One was 11 months and one was 8.5 months old when we sleep trained, using a method discussed in John Roseman's New Parent Power. I had never heard of this guy. This was a book that we were given when I was pregnant with my first daughter, and it's the only parenting book that we really took to, you know what I mean? Like, we read a couple other ones, Bringing Up Bebe is one of them, how like European families raise their kids a little differently or something. But anyway, this is the method we use. So I wanted to talk to you guys about how we sleep train Daisy, who's now 3, and Eleanor, who is 9.5 months, and how they both sleep through the night without a peep and go to bed without a fight. So if you are struggling with it, I hope you guys keep watching and find this video helpful. Let me just give you a little bit of background about both our kids and how they were sleeping. I breastfeed to sleep. That's just, I know, they told me you're not supposed to in breastfeeding class at the hospital. Guess what? I did it with the first kid. Told myself I wasn't gonna do it with the second kid, and I totally did. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a perfect parent, okay? But I'm trying now to teach my kid to fall asleep on her own without me breastfeeding to sleep, and it's working. It has worked. So I just wondered if there are other people out there who did the same thing as me. It turns out I'm not alone, because my mommy groups on Facebook and stuff, people say the same thing. So it's just easy. It's what works when they're newborns, but at some point you have to break that like association and their inability to fall asleep on their own and then fall back to sleep on their own without a boob, you know? So first things first, you definitely want to check with your pediatrician and make sure that your kid it's okay to not feed them in the middle of the night. Like, is your child waking up because they actually need nourishment and need nutrition? Like, you know, they need food in the middle of the night. You shouldn't be sleep training them and refusing them food. My kids are both large. Like, they're in the 90-something percentile for height and weight. You like almost at every appointment. They're big. They're good sized kids. So I've confirmed with our pediatrician that I did not need to be feeding them in the middle of the night. Once she said, yeah, you don't need to, that's when we started sleep training. With Daisy, I never wanted to. I never saw myself as a person who was going to do the cry it out method, or that just seemed cruel, and I wasn't that kind of person. I wasn't going to put my baby through that. But you hit a breaking point when you can't remember the last time you had more than 2 hours of sleep in a row or 4 hours of sleep in a row, and you would give anything, you try to sneak out of everything to get a nap, and it's like all you can think about, and you find yourself making mistakes and being groggy and like dumb and like doing stupid stuff because you're sleepy. That's when you're like, okay, I think something has to give, and mommy isn't happy, daddy's not happy, even the kid is suffering because they're not happy, and they just tend to be, you know, have a hard time at bedtime, and you know they're overtired but they won't sleep. So this is the solution that we found. I just want to read to you a little bit. This is from John Roseman's book, and in case you have it, this book is pretty darn popular. It's Bedlam at Bedtime, and that's the chapter from 8 to 18 months about the toddler, in case you were wondering. But it has a question and an answer, like a parent sent in a question, and my book is flapping all over the place. Parents send a long question about how their kid needs to be rocked to sleep, and then when they won't go back to sleep unless they rock them in the middle of the night, or in my case, breastfeeding, and then they won't go back to sleep until they're breastfed. And so he discusses what he recommends. So one is, don't let the kid be overtired. Set a bedtime routine, and preferably a set bedtime. I don't do that. I go by my kid's cue. If you're tired, you go to sleep. If you act crabby and it's close to bedtime, it's bedtime. If you act hyper and it's close to bedtime, I give you a few more minutes to like mellow out. You know, that's just me, but you guys have to do what works for you. I have been pushing this plan for at least 20 years, and it is yet to fail. Just call me the Sandman. If you have lingering doubts, like, just believe him. And guys, it worked for both of our kids. So step one, set a bedtime. Don't let them be overtired. Set a routine and just do it. So whatever it is, if it's bath time, PJs, brush your teeth, read a book, breastfeed, whatever your routine is, you set it, set a time for it, do it, put the kid down, awake. He says, step two, assuming the child screams, of course they're gonna scream, go back into her room every 5 minutes and repeat the tucking in ceremony. If you must lay her back down, which we did, our kids would just stand right up and be like, Mom, yeah, you know. Reassure her that the world as she knows it still exists. Kiss her and exit stage left. Do not pick her up and do not stay longer than 1 minute. 5 minutes later, if she's still at it, go back in and repeat the procedure. Sooner or later, she will begin to tire of this foolishness and her screams will turn to whimpers. At this point, you should extend the interval to 10 minutes if she's kind of not crying all the way, just like a whimper, or whenever your common sense and intuition advise. If, however, she goes back to full throttle screaming, return to the 5-minute plan. So, we said goodnight, laid her down awake, and I walked out. I personally cannot stand to listen to my baby cry or scream. If that is you, I get it. I made my husband do the first check-in, okay? I left the area. Like, I think I might have even gone out on the patio. Like, I could not just stand there, listen to her cry for 5 minutes and not do anything about it. But we did use the timers on our phones, and we took turns. So the first, after 5 minutes of crying, my husband went in, laid her back down, said, I love you, it's okay, go to sleep. He like rubbed her belly, laid her back down again. She was screaming like, what is wrong with you, Daddy? Pick me up, pick me up. And he was like, nope. Within a minute, he left, and then we set a timer, 5 minutes. I went in, did the same thing. I love you, it's okay, Mommy and Daddy are here, you go to sleep now, bye. Left the room. 5 minutes later, you know, we do this over and over. The first night took 45 minutes for her to go to sleep. In the middle of the night, you do the same thing. Every 5 minutes, you go in, unless their crying is kind of softer and more of a whimper, then you extend it to every 10 minutes. You get me. And then that first time it was 45 minutes, second time it was only like 30 minutes long of this. The second night, we did the same thing, bedtime. Okay, I breastfed her, did our routine. Good night, love you. Turned on the white noise machine, turned off the light and walked out. Went back in at 5 minutes, went back in at the 10-minute mark, you know. And this is what we did. The second night, instead of 45 minutes to fall asleep, it took her 25 minutes. The third night, you know, in the middle of the night, we did the same thing and it was a little bit less. A little bit less, a little bit less. By the third night, she barely cried at all. It was like one check-in, maybe at the 5-minute mark. And then at the 10-minute mark, we looked at the clock and we're like, oh, she's not even crying anymore. Okay. And then she was asleep. Guys, by the fourth night of this, by night 4, I put her down and said, good night, I love you. White noise machine on, shut the door, you know, turn off the light, shut the door, walked out. She didn't cry. And here's the thing, y'all. She slept through the night. Do you hear me? My baby, who used to wake up 4, 5, 6 times a night to breastfeed, slept through the night. Night 4. No joke. Second kid did the same thing as the first kid. By night 4, I had a baby who slept. I feel like a new person. I am a person with a functioning brain. I get more done at work. My house is cleaner. I have time. And guess what? My firstborn child now gets one-on-one time with me again, because baby goes down at 6:30 or 7 o'clock and she gets to stay up for like an hour with Mommy and Daddy. And you know what's cool? My 3-year-old, she was like 2.5 when we did this, she is also sleep trained, and we did this years ago, but she has a set routine, you know, potty, brush her teeth, read books, go to sleep. And then we don't hear from her in the middle of the night either. If we hear from her in the middle of the night because she needs to go potty or something like a legitimate reason, you know, we'll get up with her and do whatever. Like she'll say, I have a toothache, or, you know, she's growing her molars, or she uses words, she's 3 now. She'll say, my tummy hurts, or I have to go potty, or I have something. We will address it, but sometimes she gets up and says, my bed ate my sock, or my stuffed animal fell out of my bed. And it's like, psh, and we just tell her to go back down, I love you, good night, and walk out. That's it. We do the same trick with the 3-year-old, and she knows that Mom and Dad aren't messing around, that in the middle of the night we're not gonna, you know, cuddle you and soothe you back to sleep, so she just goes back to sleep on her own. And then our kids wake up, and get this, when they wake up, they're happy. They got a good night of sleep. I'm happy in the morning too. We have happy mornings. Who would have thought? Everybody's well rested, and they are happy to see me, and I'm happy to see them, even when my baby wakes up at 6 a.m. on a Saturday, and I'm like, I could totally be sleeping right now. And also, my marriage is better because after the kids go down, like last night, both of our kids were asleep by like 7:15, 7:30, I think. And we got to spend some time alone. I wanted to have a glass of wine, even though I'm breastfeeding. I could. Sleep training has changed my life. I am not a person who ever thought I would say, I let my baby cry it out. And I was embarrassed that I let my baby like breastfeed to sleep. And like the second time again, I did it again. I was like, oh, I shouldn't have taught her this bad habit. How am I gonna fix it? Y'all, this book, 2 pages, changed my life. I fought it until 8.5 months. And if I had a third baby, which I'm not going to, But if we had a third baby, I would be doing this much younger, like 5 months, 6 months, as soon as the pediatrician said it was safe to do so and not feed them in the middle of the night. But that is it. I hope you guys found this video helpful. It's very simple. If you are also struggling, leave me any comments, questions, anything that you might want to know about the process. And I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you guys later.